The run-up to a presidential election in the United States can look very different depending on which state you're looking from. Since the early 1900s, most states have held presidential primaries, where members of each party cast a ballot in secret to help select the candidate they want to lead their party in the presidential election. A few states, Iowa, Idaho, and Wyoming among them, hold caucuses instead. A caucus differs from a primary in several ways. First, a caucus is a public event restricted to registered party members. Voters gather in their local precinct to be counted in support of their preferred candidates. At the end of the caucus, the number of voters per candidate is used to determine the proportion of state delegate votes a candidate will receive at the party's official convention. This is similar to the way that the number of primary ballot votes a candidate receives determines how the state's representatives will vote at the convention. Caucuses were common through the 1800s. By the mid-1900s, however, primaries had become more popular because they cost less and are more convenient for voters. Some states split the ways they choose. Hawaii and Missouri hold Republican caucuses but Democratic primaries. Primaries and caucuses are staggered on the calendar so that the field of candidates narrows as more contests are held. Despite its small population and number of electoral votes, Iowa is important to candidates because it's the first state to hold a contest. The results from Iowa have been integral in propelling candidates forward and onto the ballot as their party's nominees. States that hold their events later in the year may be too late to pick from all candidates. The field may already have narrowed. Iowa and New Hampshire were traditionally first and second to vote, and both states have predominantly white populations, a fact that has been criticized in recent years because it gives these mostly white voters more influence on the election. To help combat this, Nevada instituted a primary and moved the date up in 2024, so that it will now be the second state to complete its contests. Different states can also matter during a general election in different ways. Certain places, such as Missouri and Ohio in the past, are considered bellwethers, places whose voting patterns tend to reflect trends in the country as a whole. In Ohio, for example, from 1900 to 2020, the state voted for the presidential candidate who was ultimately the winner a whopping 90.3% of the time. This makes the results from these states closely watched indicators during an election to help gauge which candidate will win.